can be a leader, but a leader is a developed set of skills. It's a developed set. State of mind, state of mind, state of mind, state of mind, state of mind.
Welcome once again to Leadership State of Mind, where it is Tony and I's only job to help you become the best version of yourself. And we just hope that we're adding value to your lives. But to kick it off, Tony, it's been a little while. How you doing, bro?
Man, I'm gonna be honest with you, dude. I have been busy. You know, I think we tell each other all the time that we have some really good friends. A couple weeks ago,
all our friends are dope.
All our friends are dope. And a couple weeks ago, man, one of our favorite spots and hangouts in New York, the owner, shout out Rich from Max's, was selling the bar/restaurant, and all my friends were like, "You coming out? You coming out?" And Joy was like, "If your friends want you to come so bad, then they can pay." And
right.
and then they paid. And so I did a 42-hour down and back from Hawaii to New York to hang out with my friends and close the restaurant down the right way. And then the next weekend I was in Kauai doing a boys weekend with an 8, 5, and a 3-year-old. And then, you know, just life and everything else in the middle. So I've been busy, man. But I mean, and then you got the NBA playoffs, which I have been very invested in because, you know, my Knicks are a problem.
Hey,
and
so we didn't talk about this. We didn't talk about this. I don't want you to tell nobody.
Okay.
All right, it's between you and I. I'm kind of a Knicks fan right now.
Oh, I like that.
I'm kind of a Knicks fan right now. I'm high key rolling and hoping, you know, for the Knicks' success. It's just I don't know what it is. It's something about basketball that is just better when the Knicks. I've heard people say that, but it's legit. Like, it's legit. When the Knicks are good.
But I'm going to tell you what it is, though. I'm going to tell you what it is. And it's what we do on this show that is so prevalent, right? It is the team dynamic that you are watching. You are watching a bunch of people that genuinely have love for one another, support one another, want to make each other better. Those Villanova boys is cooking. And I really think that's what makes it so fun to watch. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
It's great. So what about you, man? What you been up to?
Right. A couple of weeks ago, I had the opportunity to go to San Diego for the Sailor of the Year week, where they rolled out the red carpet for all of the finalists.
Mm-hmm.
And I will tell you, man, you go through these bouts of, is it time to go? Should I stay a little bit longer? Right?
Sure.
Because we're close to the horizon. I'm a little bit closer than you to the horizon of this thing, but interacting with those brilliant sailors, interacting with those top tier performers. I mean, 11 of the best sailors out of all of Submarine Force Pacific, man, it was definitely reinvigorating. And what's even more awesome during that time is the people that sponsored, that allowed us to come in. They were just like, "You guys are awesome. Come on in. Hey, we're paying for all the stuff. We just want to celebrate you." So the support that was readily present during that week, it was just an amazing week. It was just getting an opportunity to really talk to them, to provide some mentorship, to provide some thoughts on things. We had some wonderful conversations. We had some laughs because, as you well know, I'm about these jokes. And but it was so good to see all those sailors. And one of the coolest parts, I'm glad we made this change, where as soon as the Sea Sailor finds out they're the Sea Sailor of the Year, it's like E7, their chief right there. Obviously, you got to go through there's some hurdles they got to go through to put it on or whatever, but to know that's we're rewarding legitimately our best sellers, that in and of itself is just that part is my favorite, right? So definitely reinvigorating.
Yeah, man, that sounds awesome. That sounds awesome. Well, it
Yeah.
sounds like there's a bunch of people in San Diego getting some wins. Also, just being able to experience what it feels like to be, the top 1% and being recognized. And then, I mean, there's just some people taking some losses.
There's some people taking some losses.
Are we gonna? Yeah, I mean, leadership state of mind, man. We're here to talk about leadership. We also here to talk about rap, hip hop, culture. You being from Atlanta, me being from New York, there's a lot of different experiences and grew up with different artists. But I got a 90s vibe happening right now with this Drake Kendrick Lamar thing. I mean, so my first question to you is, did J. Cole make the good call? Are you mad that he bowed out?
I'm not mad that he bowed out.
Okay.
But I can't not think about a three-way dynamic of like exponentially increasing the amount of great music and shots that are flying in hip hop. So the selfish part of me is like, what would that have looked like?
I know.
Like, would J. Cole have taken sides? Like, would it be 2 against 1? Like, what would that even look like? Would he be willing to go at Drake and and Kendrick at the same, like, really exploring what that dynamic would have looked like? But for him, and we've talked about emotional intelligence a lot on this podcast, and I even brought up the thought process. I don't know if emotional intelligence can exist in hip hop, but I think that he made the right decision because where it is right now, ooh buddy, I don't think J. Cole recognized how much Kendrick like legitimately just hates who Drake is.
I don't think anyone understood to the level at which he hated, how much he hates Drake and who he is. I had to pause one of the tracks and just take a minute to walk away from it. I was like, wow, I mean, there's so many bars in that album, man. It's crazy. I'm here for it. I don't want anyone getting hurt. I don't want this to be taken, past like verbal assaults, right? Like, but I don't need another, Biggie, Tupac, all that type of stuff, man. But
and that's the piece. That's the piece. I remember specifically where I was when Tupac, when they announced on the radio that Tupac had passed away. I remember where I was when Biggie died. And those things were not, you look back on those things in hindsight, and you're like, man, like, why couldn't it just have been about music? Why couldn't it just been about like the artistry of it all? But it always it escalated, and I'm hoping that this does not get into a place where it gets to that, because it's gotten pretty personal. Right? It's really personal.
It's gotten extremely personal. I'm enjoying the back and forth, but like I said, I just want to keep it to hip hop and just listen to two people try to go at each other verbally and stick to that. Yeah, man. So I appreciate your comments and your thoughts on that. I feel like we can't be us and can't be leadership state of mind if we don't bring up the fact that, I mean, I think the last Kendrick Lamar drop broke some record for like the fastest to 1 million streams or so. I mean, there's a lot of people listening to it. So, man, shout out to Drake and Kendrick for the entertainment for sure.
Yeah, the entertainment value is top tier. It is top tier.
It has to be.
Yeah, I'm curious to see, if so. Drake came back with his kind of final, I'm trying to drop the mic moment.
Yeah.
I don't know if he quite dropped the mic on that one. There were some questions that were still kind of left unanswered, but I mean, if I had to pick, because I think that you got to pick. I don't think in hip hop there's no, they both won. Oh, the fans won. I think that's a weak take.
Sure. Like, I agree.
I think choose a side, you coward.
Yeah.
So, like, for me, I love bars. I don't necessarily like the personal aspect of it, because I like because I prefer the wordplay. I want to hear the wordplay. I want to hear how you flipping it. using somebody's words against them and all this other stuff. But in terms of just that, I think that Kendrick is leading this right now for me. What you think?
Yeah, 100%. So I got to be honest, I'm not a huge Kendrick fan. Like, I wouldn't
Yeah.
say that I loved his music, and I definitely liked a lot of earlier Drake stuff better. But in this current onslaught that's taking place, yeah, man, I gotta go Kendrick, man. I just think he's hitting deep on some stuff, man. So it's yeah, man. Like I said, it's been fun. And it's been a fun couple of weeks in hip hop for sure.
Yep. Definitely, man. Definitely. And I mean, even just the title of the podcast, Leadership State of Mind, like it's you know, we low key sponsored by Nas. Like what are we doing? So we gotta
we gotta talk about it a little bit, man, for sure. Yeah, man. So
by the way, for those that want us to go into it a little bit more, definitely put your questions in the chat, whether or not who you think who you think won this thing, like who you think is winning this thing. Like we want to keep this conversation going because I think it's worth, definitely conversation. Plus, I'm curious to see what people think out there, right?
Absolutely. I definitely want to know that. So in keeping in the hip hop spirit, as we always do on the podcast, man, it was all good just a week ago. Tell me what's going on, man. Tell me something in leadership that didn't go, quite the way that it should have.
Well, so my current analysis of dealing with some of the organizational relationships, navigating those spaces is very, very delicate, right? Okay. So as a leader, naturally you're going to have with the people that are working with you that may report to you, they're going to have some personality issues. There's going to be some conflict there. There's going to be some issues there that you're going to have to navigate. Now, most of those will be from a standpoint of those that answer to you. But there's when you're dealing with a situation where maybe there's a department or division or area that doesn't necessarily answer to you, but because of the influence that you command, people reach out to you. And so what I would say is I had to make sure that I was careful on the advice that I gave concerning how to deal, with those relationships, right? Because you have people that say, well, let me tell you about this person. Right?
Yeah.
Well, if you have influence across your entire team or your entire command or your entire company, the other person may find their way to your office too and say, well, and give you some other information. And we all know the truth is somewhere in the middle. And being mindful of how you advise people going forward, it's very easy to absorb their energy. It's very easy to take sides, especially if you have a previous relationship with somebody, going back to the affinity bias that I talked about, it's very easy to take sides. And I almost got there where I was about to take some sides and I had to make sure I got back to middle to say, hey, look, are we looking at this? Are we zooming out and looking at this with the full level of perspective that it deserves? Right? Because at the end of the day, we're all going the same direction. We're trying to achieve the same goal. At the end of the day, like we just have different ways of doing that. We just believe that there is different, hey, some may think we should pedal. Some may think we should do backstroke. Some may think we should do I don't know what this is, the breaststroke or whatever, but we're all going the same way. So philosophically, how we believe that we get there, being mindful that we zoom out and recognize and connect on that main thing. Hey, we're going the same direction. We're all trying to achieve the same goals. We're all trying to go the right way. So linking up on where you agree first before you get into the disputes, I think is key. And that's something kind of I had to remind myself and evaluate the words that I was given, the advice that I was given, to make sure that it wasn't going to disrupt the direction that the team was going to go into. So I said a lot there, but obviously I'm pulling from a very real scenario that I'm dealing with, and I'm trying to protect the scenario and protect names for, I want
course.
to, call nobody out or anything like that. But it's just a
I got
unique situation that came up.
Okay. All right. Well, I mean, obviously, you're trying to give both people guidance. So, you always give great advice about not matching people's energy. And so, just remember that for the people listening. When people are trying to come to you and they're frustrated by not matching their energy and staying calm and cool, collected, you kind of bring them down because they're not able to make the decisions from an irrational headspace. And so, what
Facts.
Armand is really good at doing is he's able to calm people down and get them to get to a place where they can have a rational discussion. And so I'm sure that was part of, what you were doing this week. So
That's all I was trying to do. That's all I was trying to do.
Okay. All right.
What,
Yeah,
what
man.
about you, man? What about you?
Yeah, so I talked about it on my Motivational Monday. Actually, it was Tuesday's tip of the day because I had some technical difficulties. But yeah, man, I just want to remind all the leaders out there that we owe it to our people to make sure that we value and manage their time properly, right?
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes you can't always give people money. Sometimes you can't always give people monetary or extra days off or whatever the things. But what you can do is make sure that you're not wasting their time when they're at work. And so, one of the discussions I was having with a supervisor was he was frustrated with, some people's attitudes towards certain types of things. And as I pulled the string on it, I'm like, what could you be doing to make them upset? And, at the end of the day, what we really uncovered is like, hey, could we have done this meeting via email? Like, did we have to do a meeting? Was it worth grabbing everyone together? Did we think that starting something at 4:30 or 16:30 for y'all military types was the best time of day to have this conversation? And so my tip of the day is, man, like we owe it to people to make sure that we make good decisions when it comes to managing people's time and making sure that we're giving them the opportunity to do their job, get done with what they need to do, and then have that work-life integration that we talk about is so important on the show. So that's my tip of the day.
Yeah, I'm always reminded of one of your favorite times when you were up in the Pacific Northwest and a certain somebody wanted to show up at 1600, 4 o'clock on a Friday. Don't say no names out here, but there's a lack of self-awareness that was displayed that day to think that people are actually going to be there when you showed up. So it's probably smart to think about the people that you're going to be speaking to, the people that you're going to be addressing rather than yourself and what's easy for you.
Love it. Absolutely. Absolutely, man. Yeah, we can leave that one alone. We can move on to the next topic. So, man, as we get into the blueprint, man, what are you reading right now?
Man, I'm reading this fantastic book. So Charles Duhigg is one of Loki, one of my favorite guys, right? And he just came out with a new book. And the reason why I'm laughing is because I have a queue of books I have an order of books that I typically go in. And I'm like, hey, you start here, start here, start here.
You threw it to the top.
I started reading his book.
Of course you did.
I started reading this book and I ain't stopped because it was so good. Super Communicators. Communicators by Charles Duhigg. Chef's kiss. Chef's kiss.
It is amazing to me that we cannot talk about what books we're reading, right?
Yeah.
And be in Japan and Hawaii. And the fact that we're both reading a book on communication is wild to me. So I just bought that Charles Duhigg book because I've read, I think 2 or 3 of his other books at least. I think he's got 2 or 3 books out there.
Yeah, 2.
Two? Okay, yeah. So I've read both of them and just downloaded it. But I am reading, actually, before I get into what you're reading, what about the book is, are you enjoying so far? What's some of your big takeaways?
Yeah, so he had the way he breaks it down in terms of connecting with people, having these, he talks about super communicators are able to synergize. They recognize what kind of conversation they're in first and foremost, and they proceed based on the recognition of the type of conversation that they're in. Then the second part of the book really goes into, all right, listen, how do you connect with people? So taking it back to us in the military and the Navy, one of the biggest pieces of us in leadership is the ability to connect.
Yeah.
Right. We are, and you and I, though we are different in our approach, I'm more introverted, you're a little bit more extroverted than I am. We very, 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 very highly value building a real human personal connection.
Yep.
What I've realized over just 27 years of leadership is that that's not natural for everybody. Especially in our organization where that highly values the algorithmic approach to ones and zeros. If their data doesn't align, then they're very robotic in its approach. I don't know why all these soft skills matter, right? But connection is so valuable because, and we're going to talk about it a little bit later with regards to culture of excellence, but the connection piece, especially when times get difficult, especially when there's adversity, being able to have built that connection and asking your people to do very, very difficult things becomes a seamless and very easy thing to do once you built that connection. But with regards to being able to truly connect on a human level, not just the uniform, not just the work, not just what the organization is about, but what does this human value, right? And being able to emotionally build those bridges where that person knows for a fact that you have their best interest in mind. And he goes into great detail on how to do that, how to build those bridges, how to build how to really fortify that connection with other people. And it's just, it's just such a fantastic read. It's a fantastic read.
Well, as I got so excited when you started talking about what book you're reading, I will tell you that I am reading John C. Maxwell, Everyone Communicates, Few Connect, which seems like it's not planned. I promise you, neither of us had that discussion. It's crazy. But another great book. Same concept. I'm sure very similar. I haven't read the book, but just you explaining it, talks about it. And it really just puts some stuff into perspective for you. I've said this to you before. If you can get into a place in leadership where people respect you as a person, not because of your rank or your stature or your job title, that's that connectedness that you built. And so, I mean, he dropped so many great one-liners and so many great quotes in that book, man. I'm gonna drop one when we drop these bars in a second. But if you think about just the name of the book title, it should get you to think a little bit, man. That all these people communicate, but few connect. And so, what are you doing as a leader to make sure that you're connecting to the people that you serve? Because the biggest mistake you make is thinking that everything you say is being understood by the people receiving it. So, great book. I'm sure your book is great. Both authors write a lot of great stuff. So, yeah, man, crazy. Yep. So, what type of bars you got? Any bars from Charles, or you got something else?
Yeah. So I got a bunch of them. I got a bunch of them from the book. I'll save those for a later date.
There you go.
But this one I don't think I've said this out. This is one of mine, but
okay.
It says, don't allow your talent and charisma to carry you into a room that your character can't keep you in.
Okay. I feel like you hurting feelings with that one, man.
Yep. Don't allow your talent and charisma to carry you into a room that your character can't keep you in. One of the things I love, because me and my daughters, we love the musical Hamilton. And one of the songs in Hamilton is where the room where it happens. And I just think about how Alexander Hamilton went into those rooms, and he was brash, he was audacious, he was brilliant, but he had to develop the character to be able to get into that room. You see the progression of that character as the musical goes on. And that's where we find ourselves. And I think about myself as a young second class E6, thinking that I should be further than where I am. And I look back at those times now as a wise old sage, if you will. And I think about whether or not my character would have even kept me in those rooms. And I'm just blessed and have just an amazing amount of gratitude for where I'm at in my life, because I know that my character is going to be able to keep me in those rooms. So yeah, don't allow your talent and charisma to carry you into a room that your character can't keep you in.
Love it, man. Love it. As always, man, you always bring the heat on those bars. So mine is short. I had a lot of options with John C. Maxwell, and
Yeah.
but the one that stuck with me was nothing can happen to you until it happens through you.
Ooh.
So, you know, we are built to motivate, lead, and inspire. Like that's if you're a leader, that's what you should be trying to do. But the only way you're going to be able to motivate people is to be able to connect with them. And if you struggle to connect, then you're not going to be able to motivate. And so if you want to make things happen, nothing can happen to you until it goes through you. So people need to feel you, right? Like people need to be like, yo, I feel what he's saying. I vibe with him. I agree with him. There's got to be this connectedness where you're like, that guy gets me. And I love that concept because, you know, you can read a million books on leadership and you can have all these philosophical ideas and these big brain people can discuss it with you. But what if you just take the time to know people and connect with them? And if people genuinely vibe with you and know that you have their back, you will be able to move mountains with those teams. And so it's short, it's easy, but man, like if you take that concept and really expand that to your teams, I really think you're hitting on something big. So that's my bars for the week.
I love that. I love everything about that, because I mean, if you want to inspire it, how about you be inspired?
Sure. Yep.
How about you be inspired? Allow that to happen to you, because people catch fire when you on fire. Like I love every bit of that quote, man. That was good, man. I love that.
Yeah. I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it. I give all the credit to John C. Maxwell. Thank you for writing that book. Thank you to the advanced CMC course for putting it on the book list and getting me to read it. So it's good.
Yeah.
All right, man. So we're getting into the last segment before we get into the main thing. 99 problems, but leadership ain't one. Talk to me about your leadership tip of the week.
See what I just did there?
Yeah, you pause.
I just took a couple of seconds.
Yeah.
Give yourself the benefit of a couple of seconds before you make that decision, that vital decision.
Mm-hmm.
Before you're about to go up on somebody because they cut you off in traffic, or you heard somebody say something bad about you.
Sure.
Before you are about to send that email that may change the trajectory positively or negatively, concerning your success.
Mm-hmm.
Give yourself a couple of seconds.
Yeah.
Our emotions move at the speed of 5G.
Mm-hmm.
But our logic is very, very slow. That joker moves at the speed of dial-up.
AOL dial-up, baby.
Exactly. Our emotions are looking to respond because those are the things that are going to protect us, right? Our emotions just telling us a story about maybe there's a threat there, maybe it's not a threat. Maybe your emotions are telling you a story that's too early, that hasn't been fleshed out, that doesn't have perspective associated with it. So give yourself a couple of seconds to allow your logical mind to catch up so that you're not seeing things like this. You can see things like this. So just take a couple of seconds. Give yourself a couple of seconds in your day-to-day. You're not going to make or break a situation by taking a couple of seconds. But you will add more clarity, and you will allow your prefrontal cortex, your higher level thinking, to engage so that you're able to see things with perspective. So that's my tip for the week.
I appreciate that. Younger me could have used that talk a lot. I've really been working on myself. I feel like I've come a long way in that area, but younger me needed that talk. But all right, man, I love that. Yeah, man. I like the pause for dramatic effect. I'm not going to add nothing to it, man. I think that's an important thing to remember, because it's like that whole toothpaste thing, right? Like it's easy to get the toothpaste out, real hard to put it back in. And so just by taking a second, you don't have to walk back some of those things that you might regret later. So great tip. As always, leadership state of mind, leading from the front, giving y'all tools to use to make yourself a better version of yourself.
Best we can out here.
We are trying. My tip of the week is this, man. Remember that taking care of people requires you to be able to delegate. But as you delegate, you need to make sure and remember that not all people are created equal. People have different skill sets, have different abilities, and you need to, as a leader, put the right people in the right place. Don't set people up for failure, right? This is not a 0-1 game. This is not black and white. There are gray areas. If you want to be the best leader you can be and you want to create the best teams, you need to be able to put the right people in the right place. Now, I used to tell people all the time, I was never the best mechanic when I was a mechanic, but I always felt like I knew which mechanic to put in which job to make sure that we'd be successful. And in life and in any leadership role, you have to know your people and connect with them so that way you know who to put in what job and make sure that you're going to get the job done. And I see it happen a lot where people just look at it as like, well, I'm going to put this guy here and that guy there. And there hasn't been a lot of thought into, is this person capable of performing at that level? Can he or she do that job? Or should we give that job to someone else? And so my tip of the week, man, is make sure you delegate and put the right people in the right places. And the only way you can do that is through connectedness and knowing your people.
Facts. Love it. Love that.
Ooh.
Yeah, I mean, just like you, I ain't adding that to that. That's perfect, bro.
All right, man. I appreciate it. Well, hey, man, I hope y'all appreciate the segment session. We like to make sure that we hit y'all with the same stuff and give you some stuff to think about before we get into the main topic. But the main topic this week, normally we like to keep it very generic as far as leadership, but we felt it was important to talk about the Navy's new rollout of culture of excellence. And, we're going to get into some stuff, and I'm going to start by throwing it over to you, man. What are your thoughts on, first of all, a quick little synopsis on culture of excellence, and then what your thoughts are on the rollout and how it's good for the Navy, bad for the Navy, and different, and you just all the things.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to start with we've been doing this for a while. And 27 years, there's been so many different rollouts of so many different things, from P2P to 5-vector model, if you were around for those things. But we've all witnessed these things come and ultimately go because of buy-in, because it was a response to something. There were branches, so to speak, and not really rooted type of initiatives where it actually seeps into an organization, becomes a part of the daily speech, becomes a part of the daily actions, it becomes a part of the behavior, and it's ingrained within every piece of every portion of the Navy. We're such a fragmented organization. When you talk about submarine force has a language, aviation has a language, surface force has a language, and so many other communities all have very specific language. And trying to find an initiative and trying to find a process by which we can all speak the same things. We can all leverage our best performers, figuring out what they're doing day to day versus our lowest performers, and removing those behaviors and kind of evening the playing field so that all of us are being able to perform at our best. And that's really essentially what culture of excellence is about. I haven't been excited about a rollout of anything in the Navy for a while in terms of like big strategic. I've always been on board in terms of buy-in, in terms of, I'm wrong. We all row in the same direction. I will play my part. But I always saw the flaws in the rollout because it didn't necessarily address the roots like I talked about previously. Culture of excellence addresses everything. It is legitimately talking about building a culture that can sustain pretty much any situation. And here in the coming years, we have a lot of challenges.
Mm-hmm.
We have some near peer competitors. We have some people that are looking to change the shape, the way the world works. And the way that we see it is, freedom and democracy for all, right? And for culture of excellence, the focus is the people and making sure that we're doing any and everything so that they can be the best version of themselves. I love almost every bit, and I say almost, there's a couple of things that I wish we would have done differently, but 97% of what this rollout has been, I am a fan of. And even the way they're doing some of the trainings. I went to one of the podcasts that we did. I was in Hawaii for the Felix course, one of the implementation programs and courses for this rollout that implements get better. And that now is a part of Culture of Excellence 2.0. But even how they're doing it, the questions that they're asking, the scenarios that they're bringing up, the problem sets that we're working on, looking at the second and third order effects down the line of what we're trying to do here, I only see goodness. And the beauty of this, because we've enveloped all of our programs under this umbrella, you're not going to be able to get away from it.
Mm-hmm.
So we're all going to be speaking the same language, right? A lot of times where you have a program that existed over here, only this subset of people are speaking this language. And this portion of the organization can get away with not using that same language. But now we're all saying the same things because it's all under one umbrella. And I'm just a huge fan of it, man.
Okay. Well, my
what
two cents.
What about you? I know you got a chance to look at it as well.
Oh,
what do you think? Yeah.
I mean, my 2 cents is, I feel like it's a mic drop. I feel like I've been speaking a different language. I mean, I think part of the reason we started this podcast, part of the reason why we're here right now at Leadership State of Mind, is because I feel like I was speaking a language and pushing a narrative that not everyone is on board with. And it was about taking care of people and building teams and creating the right culture. And other people thought that other things were more important. And so for me, it's like a foot stop. It's like a here we go. Now everything that we've been working towards is now codified and quantifiable. And I mean, I think it's great. Now, with anything, there's always room for improvement. And that's why it's Culture of Excellence 2.0. And we can continue to adapt it. What I would say to anyone that says, like, this is common knowledge, people should be doing this anyway. Listen, if everyone was doing it, then we wouldn't need to roll it out. But clearly, there is not a defined standard on leadership and a defined method to build teams. And so here it is. Here's your good, better, great. Here's your breakdown on how to do it. And here's some solid information to make sure that you're doing the right stuff. And, as you look at Culture of Excellence, it also does a great job of combining programs that already exist, like you were talking about, and bring everything together. So unlike other rollouts where you have to learn new information and learn new stuff, it's really just giving you the basics of programs that already exist and the concepts that should already exist and kind of put them all under one umbrella to get us all speaking the same language. And so we're talking about communication. We're talking about connectedness. It's easy to connect when everyone speaks the same language. So we're going to roll into Culture of Excellence 2.0 and kind of just hit some of the highlights and talk about the benefits of it. But I just think it's a great way for Navy leadership to be aligned and to get everyone speaking the same language. So I'm a fan of it. So so first part of it talks about the just kind of combining the warrior toughness and the core values. Right. So, I think the core values obviously are, we should be talking about that. That's what we do, the honor, courage, and commitment. But the combination of taking that and adding the warrior toughness piece, if you haven't been through the warrior toughness program and haven't learned some of those skills, it really does a good job of kind of setting the stage of what type of headspace you need to be in to be able to lead.
Yeah, the thing about warrior toughness that I'm such a big fan of is because when warrior toughness is a performance enhancing process. It's meant to help sailors take that hit and keep on going through tools that are enveloped within that Warrior Toughness program, help you become more prepared for evolutions that are coming on, help you deal with stress in a more tangible and positive way. And the thing about it is that it doesn't just address words, right? Typically, if I want somebody to do better, I just tell them you need to do better.
Yeah.
Well, well, how do I do that, right? And it goes all the way down to the physiological level. It goes all the way down to the human processes, right? How do I leverage my physiology? How do I leverage my body, my mind, my soul in a way that's going to give me top tier performance where through whatever adversity is present before me, I can knock that out. I can get over that hurdle. I can knock that wall down. I can get up that hill. I can carry that boat. Whatever is needed in that situation, I can do it through rehearsal, mental rehearsal, taking a known evolution where it's like, hey, I know what step is supposed to be done here. This is what I'm going to do, and really bringing color to that in your mind. I'm going to turn that valve. I'm going to operate that switch. I'm going to do this. You got to make sure that I do this before I do this, and going through that process before you actually go into that evolution. The breathing exercises, when we find ourselves in a freeze, fight, or flight state where all the non-magic in our lives happen. If you wonder why you get into issues, I guarantee that 99 times out of 100, you're in freeze, fight, or flight. You're in survival mode.
Sure.
The breathing exercises get you out of survival mode and allow you to think with clarity, because when we're in freeze, fight, or flight, we don't see clearly. We don't hear clearly. All we are doing is focusing on the potential threat, where we're not able to see things with perspective. Utilizing the exercise within Warrior Toughness allows you to be able to get out of that tunnel vision and see truth, see things with clarity. And you combine that with, you envelop that into the core values, where we've all been speaking the core values our entire career. But now when you bring those things together, everybody's going to be speaking that same language. Now it's intertwined, and it takes time. It's going to take a little bit of time for those things to be fully absorbed, right? But it takes leaders like you and I really talking about this in a positive way. And this is not, and just so you know, like, this is Tony and I's podcast. Like, if we didn't like what was being put forth, we would just say we ain't like it, or we just wouldn't talk about it. Right?
100%.
So this is not endorsed by the Navy. Navy ain't giving us no extra pay to talk about this in a positive way. This is just something that we see as a positive step forward, that if we're going to talk about building a culture that's going to sustain through adversity, this is how you do it. Right. So, and the culture, and the one of the things I really love about when you talk about core values, I remember being in, multiple sailor to quarter boards and things of that nature. What are core values mean to you? And everybody has all these different definitions, but what we've done, we've actually quantified the behaviors associated with the core values. Hey, what does it mean to be honorable? What does it mean to be courageous? And what does it mean to have a commitment that is going to be able to sustain us through any kind of war type scenario? So that in and of itself, the combining of those things, preparing us to be the war fighters that the Navy needs when the Navy needs us.
Man, sometimes you just be dropping them. Like, I just need to pause to take it all in. So I yeah, man. Hey, first of all, I love what you said, right? If we think something's good, we want to talk about it. And I think what I'm really getting at is, I feel like the Navy's been listening to leadership state of mind, and that's how they help the culture of excellence 2.0. I like that. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. So, when I look at the culture of excellence in the whole process, what I love about it is it's almost like the core values are like the building. It's like, look at it like a building block approach, and like each step of it kind of just builds like your foundation, and then kind of just builds it up. So the foundation is the core values, right? and then the warrior toughness kind of gives you that base, and then it just walks through what's next, right? So once you got the base, now you can focus on people, right?
Yep.
And how to have, how to build great people. And we've said it on the podcast, and I'll say it again. If this is your first time listening to Leadership State of Mind, rarely does becoming a leader make you a better person, but becoming a better person will make you a better leader. So clearly the Navy heard what we were saying and made sure that we prioritize great people, because that's what we're trying to do on the show. And that's now what the Navy is the direction that they're trying to do, right? So how do we create great people? Well, it talks about 3 different things: mind, body, and spirit. So let's talk about it, right? We need to make sure that we're in the right headspace, that we're doing the right thing every day to take care of our people, that people are physically fit, and that people have the right headspace and the right spirit. And this is all the stuff that we've talked about. This is not reinventing the wheel, right? If you want to build the right person to be ready to lead and ready to do those things, you need to be good mind, body, and spirit. You need to be in the right headspace every day when you go to work. You need to have, be in the green band and know when you're stressed out and how to get back and like what to do to, self-regulate. And so all these conversations about emotional intelligence and taking care of people, of getting back in the green band, sets the stage to walk leaders through how to make sure that they are creating great people. So if you disagree, if you're a leader and you're like, this is stupid, like, explain to me why taking care of people and making people great doesn't make the team better. So yeah, man, I love that whole approach. I don't know if you got any comments on the people side before we get into the next one, but I just think it's a really good building block.
Yeah, I just think that when you talk about the building blocks, right? So one thing leads to another. You got the core values, building on warrior toughness, then goes to the great people. We have to do the work to make sure that we're giving our people the freedom to be the best version of themselves, right?
Yep.
And when you look at how this is laid out, it talks about, hey, what should they have access to? What should they be able to do? And how to provide that for them so they can be the best version of themselves, right? Because when you go to the next step, we're talking about great leaders. Like, I got to make sure that my people are great. They're in the best possible position, that they're provided what they need to be provided day in and day out. I'm not saying that you're perfect, right? Because nobody's expecting leaders to be perfect, but we are expecting you to be transparent. We are expecting you to be vulnerable, and we are expecting you to be real with people, because if you reveal that you're a real person, guess what you may get in reciprocation? You may get a real person as well. And when you're communicating or connecting as people, right, you give them the freedom to be the best version of themselves, right? And then now they can grow into the next step, into being great leaders, right? Which is built upon character, competence, and culture. And I talked about through
Your quote,
the bars, right? Through the bars where, hey, it doesn't matter how gifted you may be. Your talent, your charisma may bring you into that room, but your character, which is, I think, is the biggest piece of this, right? May get you kicked out of that room, right? So that character, that competence, and the culture that those leaders are building, that goes into making those great leaders. But first, it starts with great people, just like you said.
Yeah, and you think about even what I continue to think about is how they tie everything together. You think about the MCPON's mission, vision, guiding principles and how important competence is, right? So character and competence are both parts of that as well. So, being able to mold all this together, not only do you need to be a good person, not only do you need to be self-regulating and be balanced and have that good center so you can be a good person and then become a great leader, but you also need to be confident in what you do, being a system expert, being the best at what you do, and having ownership to be great. So it talks about the importance of that confidence. And, listen, we've said it before on the show, you're not always going to have the best example of what right looks like. And so what this does is it tries to give people a visualization of what right looks like. So if you're not seeing it, you can identify it. And then and that to me is key, because there has been times where, I can talk about my failures as a leader every day. I can tell you all the mistakes I made and things I wish I did better. But when I became the best version of myself, it's when I stopped being the machinist mate or A-ganger that I thought I had to be, right? Because I had a
Yeah.
vision of this is what an A-gang chief on a submarine looks like. He's angry. He's a little bit rude. He's mean. Like I had this like persona to live up to. And the moment that I was like, I don't feel comfortable doing this. This isn't who I am. This isn't like my true version of myself. As soon as I started being me, it was amazing how much the dynamic changed and how much better my team became and how much more of an effective leader I was. And so all these conversations are really just trying to give you that understanding and that baseline of how important it is to be a good person so you can become a great leader. And if you don't have those examples showing you what it should look like.
Yeah. And the other piece about this I love, and you brought it up. You got a visual of what people have a visual of what this looks like.
Yeah.
So what the Navy is saying by releasing this and by putting this out is that every sailor deserves great leadership.
Sure. It's the
Right?
only reason. It's the only reason we're in this job.
Absolutely.
Like I'm doing this because I did not always have great leaders, and I'm not saying
Yep.
that I'm perfect, but I will tell you that more people than not will say that they appreciate what I bring to the table and how I try to support them every day. And so the Navy is saying this is the standard. Like if you're not doing a good enough job and you're not taking care of your people and you're not prioritizing this stuff, then it's going to reflect. And sailors are going to look for the people that are doing it the right way.
Yep. And if you and by the Navy saying that every sailor deserves great leadership, what they're also saying is that every sailor should expect great leadership as well. You should expect this. Hold your leaders accountable to what this says. That is the flip part about this, right? If your leaders aren't adhering to what this says, there's a responsibility that comes with no. Hey, this is the standard. This is what we're supposed to be doing. So there's an expectancy there for us to hold the line, to hold that standard, and provide that great leadership. Right. So as sailors, as personnel here, that's watching this, you should expect great leadership as well.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so
I love this piece in the character, that under character where it says, I'm going to set the standard and be transparent, own your mission, empower your people, and master self-awareness and emotional intelligence.
I told you they've been listening to the podcast.
They've been listening. They've been listening.
I think I'm messing with you.
You want to talk about emotional intelligence? All you got to do is go back to the first episodes of the podcast.
Yeah, man, go check it out. If this is your first one, man, we got a whole series on emotional intelligence, man. Go check it out.
Whole series.
So we focus on becoming better people, which makes us better leaders, and then once we're better leaders, we know how to create the right culture, because culture is key. And then once the culture is set and the leaders are doing the right things, we now have great teams. And why do we need great teams to be successful? Because no one person can do it on their own. And so it talks about how to build a team, talks about the importance of the mission, talks about learning, talks about the community and building that great environment that people want to be a part of. And I'll tell you, once the team is right and once everyone is paddling, like you said, in the same direction, and it feels a mutual respect, I mean, I just built something special. The thing that sticks out to me is the community aspect. The concept that I would always say as a leader is, if you want to build a stronger team, you got to get together outside of work. You gotta get families together. You gotta get people involved outside of work, getting to know one another on a personal level, connecting. And so it's adding that to this as well, right? It's like, hey man, we just can't talk at work all the time. Like, we have to find ways to build relationships and connect. So I that's the part that stuck out to me in that part. I love how it transitions from culture to team. because I feel like if
Yep.
you don't have the right culture, you can't have the right team. So I like again, I just think it's a great building block approach. It's a great outline. This isn't all the information you need to become a good leader and build a great team, but it certainly gives you a good outline and a good foundation.
Yeah. The thing I love about it too is that if we're going to make this a standard, and we are with this rollout, this makes the burden less on those leaders that have been taking the brunt of the work, the responsibilities, the accountability. It shares it because all of us have dedicated ourselves to become great leaders and build great teams.
Sure.
Therefore, our output is increased exponentially. Like
Yeah.
what we're able to get accomplished if when everybody commits to this, like you're gonna walk into a command, you're gonna walk into a place, and you're like, what we once were spending months to get accomplished, we're doing in mere days because we've all come under this umbrella. We've all bought into this process to become what's expected of us. And I'm excited for what's to come as we further develop this and buy into this process.
Yeah, man, it's great. And then, once you got the people and the leaders and the teams, it kind of walks you through some of the key attributes to kind of show people like good, better, great. And you want to talk about like just being able to stand up and just be like, yes, man, in the real world and not in the Navy, they talk about onboarding, right? And the importance of bringing in the right people and creating the right environment when people come on board. In the Navy, we call it the sponsorship program. And I have spent countless hours telling people that the onboarding process is the welcome mat. It is the first impression. You should always spend extra time to make sure that when people show up to your organization, to your team, that they feel valued, appreciated, and welcomed. And so the fact that they highlighted that as the first thing, like, I mean, I just sat back and I was like, we did it. We are here.
Yeah.
We are finally here. Like, put some energy in these programs, man. Like, this is what matters. So, and as you walk through some of the things, the onboarding process, the toughness and prevention, and the listening and acting, it gives you different levels, right? It gives you that good, better, best. And I just think it's worth its weight in gold. The more you put into it, the more you read about it, the more you train on it and kind of get everyone speaking the same language, the better your teams will be for it.
Absolutely. There are multiple people that have been a part of my mess that knows that the quickest way to get me to be what I call unreasonable
Sure.
is to mess up this process. It's to mess up that onboarding process.
Well, the first thing is for you to be hungry. Like, don't let you be hungry, and then don't mess up the process.
That's fair.
That's
fair.
Hey,
That's
hey,
fair.
listen, man.
But I will tell you, though, the intermittent fasting portion has helped. Like doing that on a consistent basis has helped, like with the barrier between me becoming, being hungry to unreasonable. It used to be like that. Now it's about like this.
It's all about growth, being a better version of ourselves than we were the day before. I like that.
Yep.
Yeah, man. So again, as you walk through this, I know you want to highlight a couple more things on it. I just think if you're not taking a look at this and reading through the words and understanding what the Navy's trying to get to, and if you're looking at this and you're like, this is ridiculous, man, maybe it's time to get out. Yeah. And if you're looking at this and you think that these are the wrong priorities, maybe it's time to get a second opinion. I have a leadership philosophy, and my philosophy is very much in line with all these things, right? Number one is taking care of people, and that's what it's talking about. And it really does a good job of talking about some of the major programs and making sure that we're prioritizing the right thing and making sure that we're taking care of the most important thing that we have, which is the sailors and the people that we serve. And if we're going to be servant leaders and we're going to be the type of people that want to build the right teams in the right environment, then that requires a level of energy and effort into culture of excellence, building the right culture, building the right people, building the right leaders, and creating the right teams. So it's a great document, important enough for us to kind of break off. We like to normally talk about leadership stuff that's not always Navy related, but I mean this was something that was, if we felt like it was important enough to break down and kind of walk through. We got a lot of people that listen and give us feedback all the time, and so I'm glad we decided to talk about this topic because I think it's important.
Absolutely. And we've taken a strategic kind of approach to talking about Culture of Excellence 2.0, talking about the high points and what this really means at large. But we definitely want to have the conversation with you out there about what your thoughts on Culture of Excellence are and what you see as the good and the bad associated with this. I would just love to collaborate and just have that discussion, in the chat, in person, whatever. But I really think we're doing the right things with this. And my last point associated with this is the simplicity of it all. There's not much left for you to try to figure out. Some of these programs that are released, we put it out there, and you're given a lot of autonomy to kind of figure it out how it works for you. What I like about this is we're not leaving it up for chance. We're defining what the behaviors we want and the teams we want and the leaders we want. We're putting those attributes out there. This is what right looks like. And we're putting it out and putting it out there clear as day. This is what good is. This is what good commands are doing as it pertains to onboarding, as it pertains to toughness and prevention, as it pertains to listening and acting. This is what the better commands are doing. But here's what the best commands are doing. Yeah. So you can extract those things for yourself. You don't even have to worry about trying to figure it out. It's just take those attributes, implement them, track them, drive them, and do that over and over again. And you will build a culture, that we're looking for. So that's the part I love most about it, is the simplification of it by putting, hey, this is what we're thinking. This is what we want in terms of onboarding. Hey, this is what it looks like. And these are the associated behaviors for that. So it gives clear guidance on what that looks like. So that's kind of my last point with regards to Culture of Excellence 2.0. Like I said, we want to have those conversations with you in the chat, in person. If you see it, if you see the podcast and you see us out and about, hey, we down for the conversation. We're down for the conversation. Like I said, the Navy has not endorsed, this conversation, but we thought it was necessary to talk about because I think we got it right.
Well, I mean, obviously the Navy's been listening. I've already said that. So if they need us to take this on the road and talk about Culture Excellence 2.0,
facts,
let us know. We're here to support. But yeah, man, I think we hit the high notes, and I think we really talked about the key points. But get into it, man. Look at it and kind of digest it for yourself. But all I ask is that you realize what this is trying to do, right? It's trying to get you to take care of people and to build a repeatable process to make sure that your command's doing the right stuff. So, it's good stuff, man. I love it. It is endorsed by Leadership State of Mind. And so as two people that care a lot about leadership, we're putting a stamp on this. So if you were sick of rollouts and didn't want to hear a new thing, give it a try. And what I'll tell you is, as you continue to look around at jobs outside of the military, how many companies are trying to bring new and creative stuff to make organizations better? How many people are attacking the mental health issues that people are having and looking for creative solutions? Do we have it all figured out? Absolutely not. And I don't think any business does. But what I like to see is that there's a concerted effort to help us get better and be better. And if we're doing that, then that's why they get the Leadership State of Mind stamp for approval, man. So as always, I enjoyed chopping it up with you. Thank you for all of your ideas, everything that you do. Thank you for everyone who is listening to the podcast, that's checking on us. Please continue to like, share, and follow, because we are here to help make us better. We love your feedback. We love your comments. Keep it going. Follow us on YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, Leadership State of Mind, where we are here to make you better versions of yourself. Anything? Any last second? Anything else? Oh,
Couldn't have said it better myself, my good man.
all right,
You know what to
man.
do.
Hey, man. So until next time, peace.
Peace.